I like my police, 911 special services to come if I need them. I like my hospital. I like all the services that we have, right? However, we want to make sure that property taxes are just and fair. The concern that we have right now is that property taxes are going up quite a bit, which is making it very unaffordable for a lot of families. Maybe that might be you, that may be somebody that you know, but it isn't such an important issue. Let me give you a little bit, and I'm not wearing my glasses, but the city of Laredo has a population of approximately 258,000 people. Current debt here is 1.2 billion. Our government, just the city debt is 1.2 billion. Laredo ISD has 20,500 students, and they have a current debt. And so, per student, sheesh, I should have worn my glasses, is about $15,000 of debt per student. That's okay. But here's the problem. Our property taxes, we are supporting property tax reform, but that's going to take a long time. So tonight, I have the pleasure of honoring and the honor of welcoming a good friend of mine who comes all the way from San Antonio. He left this morning. He did a hearing in his car. He continued driving to to Laredo from San Antonio, did a presentation, and then came here for another presentation. That's how committed he is. My friend Michael Berlanga is a CPA. He is a real estate broker and the founder of an organization called Texans versus Taxes. Again, yay! This man is brilliant and committed to helping people such as yourselves on how to read, understand, and protest your property taxes. So if you are here as a small business, we do have some realtors here, a couple of appraisers, real estate professionals. Yay for you guys, thank you so much. Yay, because they're out in the field talking about this. So please take this information for yourself. If you are a real estate professional, take it for you and your clients. If you are a business, please take this for your business, and I hope that you are able to enjoy and really take advantage of this opportunity. Mike, would you please help me giving him a warm round of applause?
Try not to turn my back on you. First of all, am I yelling at y'all? Let me know, because if I need to, I can just talk to y'all. I don't know if that's good enough, but I'll try this for a minute. So I'm trilingual. I speak real estate, English, and taxes. Okay, but I'm bicultural. It's Berlanga, it's known as Puro Mexicano. I'm a Texan American of Mexican descent. Don't laugh. My family in Torreon, they owned Leche Lala. I guess I had too much of it, right? No, it's all true though. But I founded Texas versus Taxes because I couldn't find a better way to unite people. In the spirit of Christ, we're supposed to love our neighbors. We love ourselves. That's the greatest commandment, after the other 10. Right? That's what Jesus said. And as president of Christian Chamber, I would go around and I would tell people, did you know you had the right to protest your property value? You know you had the right to lower that burden? And they go, no, I didn't know. But should I? And I get all these resistance and all this anxiety. And I said, I just felt compelled, to learn as much as I could. And I had this bright idea, I'd run for tax collector. And the better idea was that I would put on a seminar. So I put on this seminar, not the one you're going to see today, the one that showed that I didn't know anything. But 300 people showed up. They showed up to the Republican headquarters, and I know half of them were Democrats. It didn't matter. I've been in the mosque on Holy Day, and I'm teaching the Muslims, unless your Muslim property tax is lower than my Christian property tax, it really doesn't matter, does it? We got the same problem. Praise God. and I've had so much purpose to helping anybody learn how you can do for yourself what you don't need to hire me to do. So I help a lot of people for free. Some of you accidentally voted for me, right? Because you saw the A at the end of the name, and you said, oh, Puro Mexicano. I'll vote for Berlanga. So I'm the only CPA that was willing to put his name on the ballot for comptroller, and yet the other three comptroller candidates still don't know what we're gonna learn tonight. That's a true story. So here we go. We're gonna be quick. See, she's already upset. So this is what we're gonna cover in a hurry. Because we've got 25 minutes. I'm sorry it's broken up. The slides are going to be available. This is not a soft sell. You can get with Monica everything you see. Enjoy your drinks. Take a mental note, but don't feel there's any, oh, I missed it. Oh, do I have to call in? You know, that's not why we're here. We're here for you to know that whatever we tell you, you're going to have to take it with you. But you have the right to exemptions for your homestead. Now that's something to brag about, right? Because I'm 66 years old. So I can claim to not only be my home, but then I'm over 65. Oh, give me a little more. Give me a little more. Oh, I'm a disabled vet. I'm not, but for those of you that are, do we have any disabled vets? No? Yes? Thank you for your service. Thank you. My father volunteered for World War II because they brought him over. He wasn't a U.S. citizen. So God bless him. The ultimate sacrifice. But if you buy an investment property, they don't care. If you own this restaurant, they don't care. Now maybe they cared enough to get your vote. I say they, the legislature. So they said, well, we'll give you a little bit. And maybe your surviving spouse. God willing, that will be an issue for a while. But you have rights to exemptions if you're homestead. But everything I'm going to teach you not only applies to your homestead, but it applies to your other assets, your other real estate, your other businesses. But this is the one that's missing from the Webb County Notice of Value that you received yesterday or today. Why do I know that? Because one of my clients sent me 3 of them yesterday. Okay? So I know what you're seeing, not what I see in Bear County. I come from one of the friendliest, most ignorant counties in the state, and I'm going to prove it to you. Because we put it in red. If you want the evidence, just check a box. But you're going to need to write it down. Okay? So if you remember nothing about where do I start, start by telling the government, please provide the evidence. Where did you get this number? What were you smoking? No, you don't have to listen. But where did you get the number? Because without that evidence, it's like going into a gunfight with a switchblade. If you don't know where the government got their idea of this crazy value, how do you begin to start the argument? Right? But that's what we have to do this all before May 15th. Right? Before May 15th, file the protest, request the evidence, and then we're in the game. Right? It's like getting a reservation at a restaurant and you're asking for the menu, but you don't have to go eat there, right? Unless you want to get that meal. So we're going to talk about the meal. Because the meal's broken down 3 ways. When you're in the game, when you filed your protest, you can also ask them, I'd like to have an informal hearing. So, I'm the taxpayer, you're the appraiser, can we just visit? Can you just tell me how this evidence makes any sense? Because I don't get it. So for those of you that think, I don't know how to read, that's right. It's their burden. You tell me, could you explain, here you sent it to me, could you explain it to me? Because that is your right also to an informal hearing. No obligation. So what's your name? Jose. Jose. So Jose says, Mr. Bedlanga, I've looked at all this evidence and I can see that maybe we made a mistake. And I'm going to explain to you why you might make mistakes. Well, then what I learned is I don't have to accept his offer. Well, if I don't have to accept his offer, thank you very much for the offer. But I think I'd rather go in front of this panel, these 3, right? These citizens, they're the appraisal review board. In a formal hearing, I'm going to get to go in front of the 3 of you for 15 minutes. He's going to tell you his evidence, and I'm going to tell you my evidence. He's going to tell you he made me an offer. I'm going to say, well, I think maybe y'all might see it differently. In fact, I think I'm a little more prepared because after Jose explained to me the evidence, I figured out there was things that I could offer. Does that make sense? So here I am down in front of the panel, and I'm going to show you what the panel looks like real quickly. Some of these slides I'm just going to blow through because I really want to respect Monica asking me to keep it brief, but again, it's all for you. But this is what is a game changer for some friends of mine that I met through a YouTube video where they thought, who's this Mike Berlanga? And they called me, they really thought, oh, he'll never answer the phone. And I'm like, yes, can I help you? What do you need? And I learned a little bit, that wasn't any different in Webb than any other county, except that they didn't think they got the best number from the panel, right? They met with Jose, they went in front of the panel, they said, not quite where we think it should be. You still have it too high. I don't know if Jose influenced them, I don't know if they ate lunch with Jose, it doesn't matter. And I said, well, guess what? You can walk away from that and you can appeal this ruling by arbitration. Does anybody know the difference between arbitration and litigation? Well, I'll make it real simple. You don't need a lawyer. You don't need me. You can appeal a formal ruling by this appraisal review board by arbitration. There you go. So I'm going to speed through it. Thank you. So in the beginning, I always say we have scriptural authority for everything we're going to say. Jesus said, give to God what is God, right? And give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So I don't want any of you to feel like, I wonder if he's teaching me something that's unethical. No, there it is. But if you don't like that, after God created Texas, Texas created taxes. No, actually there were taxes before Texas if you get in the alphabet and history. But the conclusion I've come to, based on judicial precedent, is that tax avoidance is not tax evasion. Did you hear me? Tax avoidance is not tax evasion. This is not a fraud. We're not committing a fraud. And the Constitution of Texas says that Article 7 says we have to fund education. So if we're going to fund education, why don't we do it efficiently? But how are we going to do it? We're going to make it the legislature's duty, using the comptroller's property value studies. It comes from Austin. The comptroller sends a study to the chief appraiser in Webb County, and the chief appraisers then blame and pressure to validate these higher values. If not, they might penalize the school funding. If the chief appraiser was here right now, they'd be nodding their head, they'd actually be smiling. Because I'll be the only person in this county that says he's not the devil. He's going to be doing the devil's work. If you feel like school property taxes are out of control, if you feel like, property taxes are just too high, you think the appraisal system's broken, no argument from me. But he's just doing the work that he has to do. Because if he doesn't validate the property value study, then the state can reduce the school funding. See how they blame him? They set him up to fail. So Article 8 says everything's taxable unless exempt. Everything. If y'all own this business and we turn the building upside down, this table's taxable. This chair is taxable. Oh, but we're not going to tax your personal chair at home, right? We're not going to tax. So, see, because we want to make sure that you vote for us. We're going to take care of you own a home. But what about everybody else? Well, doesn't apply. So everything's taxable unless it's exempt. So I am the only CPA, which stands for cow parking attendant, right? Because if I have enough cattle, I don't pay property taxes. You've heard of agricultural exemptions, but I'm also a certified public accountant. I'm a licensed real estate broker, and I'm a property tax consultant. I'm the only geek that's crazy enough to have all three licenses at the same time, according to my research. And so I want to make that very clear that I'm filling the gap. I'm not here to take work away from your CPA. I'm not here to take work away from your real estate broker. I'm not even here to take work away from your property tax consultant. I'm here led by the Spirit to tell you that you don't have to be a cow parking attendant like I am to not pay taxes on 121 acres. It doesn't help. It doesn't hurt. But this is what most of us feel like, right? Because 1 out of every 5, see, you thought I was being crude. No, I'm doing a proportion. This is how many people protest generally in Webb County. 1 out of every 5. May I have a show of hands? How many of you protested before? Okay. So you're proving the number. No, I think you're this one. I think either that or you're just a polite one. Right? Everybody else is over here. We're all looking and saying, what are they doing? But that's the numbers, and that's a statewide proof. 20% of property owners protest their property values, give or take. But something happened good from Zoom. What was that? That is that we couldn't go down to the appraisal district. Right? They said, don't bring your germs in here. Right? But what the Attorney General said was, don't keep them from having a hearing. Either go and let them have a telephone hearing or let them have a video teleconference. I learned how to spell Zoom. I didn't know how. I have a face for radio. I understand. But I can get on the phone or I can look somebody in the eye. And so it changed my life. I could be in Bexar County. I could be looking out my back door. And I said, if I can't go downtown to the Bexar County Appraisal District, but I can still help people, then I don't have to go downtown Laredo. And I don't have to go downtown El Paso. And I don't have to go downtown Corpus Christi. So it was very empowering, because I guess this is what Jesus would do if he had the Last Supper during COVID. But one of the things I want to share with you in terms of America's most and least trusted professions is that, I may have told you that nurses at the top, members of Congress at the bottom, accountants, you can't see this, right below police officers, we're most trusted even above the clergy. I may not have told you my background. I was 14, I was in a seminary, and I thought maybe I had the calling to be a priest, but God's plan was different. My father died, had a stroke, so I made a deal with God. I said, God, if you want me to be a priest, you wouldn't let me get a scholarship to Central Catholic. I got a scholarship to Central Catholic. Anybody heard of Central Catholic High School? Okay, it's actually a pretty good school.
Is that in San Antonio?
In San Antonio.
My son played football against y'all.
Yes, and they probably kicked our behinds because we're supposed to be so smart, but I was in the dumbest class they ever had. And the proof was I graduated in 3 years at the top of the class. They couldn't have been very smart. No, it's a good school. And they gave me a scholarship to St. Mary's, so I got a degree in accounting. Well, while I was getting my degree in accounting, I was working for a funeral home. And I realized people were living longer. So instead of waiting for people to die, I figured they were paying more taxes. I had job security if I left the funeral industry and went into taxes. That's what I've been doing ever since. But what I want to impress upon you is what Libre is doing is what we've already done in San Antonio, where the city of San Antonio has actually paid me to go around to all the city council districts and tell people you can pay less taxes. Okay? So if the city of San Antonio would pay me to do that, then what is Libre doing? It's resurrecting the fact that people need to be empowered. They need to know they can pay less taxes. And any one of you can make a difference in the lives, if not yourself, the people you know and you love and you care for, your family and friends and neighbors. So, according to the most famous tax collector, with God all things are possible. So let's see if we can get through this, Monica, as fast as possible, because I want you to know that we have a taxpayer bill of rights that says you can contest a decision. A decision's already been made. It's in the mail. And for those of you that didn't get a notice of value, watch this, listen closely. If you didn't get a notice of value, you still have the right to protest. I don't care that they didn't raise your value. You say they didn't raise it. So what if it was wrong the year before? Right? If they didn't raise it, maybe it was too high to begin with. You have the right to protest. You don't have to be given a notice of value to protest. I would strongly encourage every one of you, file the protest, get the evidence, then decide if you want to keep moving forward. Okay? Ask for the menu, then decide if you want to eat. The CPAs don't value properties. Everybody that's got a CPA, bless you, that they're doing your income tax return, but that has nothing to do with protesting your property value in the state of Texas and the process that we use to raise property taxes. The realtors, and I know we have some realtors in the room. Realtors, do I have some realtors? Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Have you taken a TREC course on how to protest property value? You have, okay. Well, it's one of the few, because most of the realtors don't cross over, but I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to find everybody you ever help and give them a CMA. CMA, for those of you who don't know, is a comparative market analysis. What would you have sold that house for January 1st after they give you a seller's disclosure of all the things that they need to get fixed? How you like that? So hopefully you can use that. You can go back and remind those people that you still care about them. that you're not just a realtor who does transactions, you're a realtor that wants a relationship, and that relationship should lead to maybe more referrals. So how do you like that? So that, but generally speaking, if they aren't here, they're not advising, right? Unless they're ready to do a transaction. Send them a seller's disclosure at the very least, even if you don't have time to do the CMA. Send everybody, if you've ever tried to sell your property, you have to fill out a seller's disclosure. What do you know about the property? Generally speaking, what do you know? Not bragging about it, but I need a new roof. I needed some plumbing repair. I've got some wood rot. You see, all those things are what we're going to bring to the attention of the property appraisal district. And the tax consultants. Anybody use a tax consultant? It's okay. Well, good if you don't. Because unless you like McDonald's over steak, I think you can do a better job with your burger, okay? Now, in San Antonio, 50% of the property taxes goes to the school district, generally speaking. And the rest of it is divvied up between the city and the county. But as you can see from here, that's the biggest part of the pie. So keep your pressure on your state legislators. Because they're going to tell you, well, you know, it's those local taxing jurisdictions. Well, you created the school district. You think maybe you can rein it in? However that, we're not going to go down that. But we'll leave that to Monica in the future. There's a few things that most people don't know, and most chambers and associations don't bring to the attention of the business owners. Do we have any business owners here? Show of hands. All right, business owner. All right. Well, first of all, have you heard of the circuit breaker? It's like a homestead cap, except it's 20%. See how generous the legislature's been? They're saying if you own real estate, it can only go up 20% if you're in business. If it's your homestead, it can only go up 10%. Well, that sounds all good and fine, except if your property value goes up 10% every year, in 7.2 years, it'll double in value. And that's without exemptions. For your business property, it's 20%. I've already seen 3 notices already, and they're all saying, oh, your value went up to here, but it only going up for tax purposes 20%. So, you know, maybe we're a little high in this game of let's negotiate something down. I think you're going to have more people that need to really go to work and bring the values down way below the 20%. If you have a business, anybody familiar with business personal property? Basically, if you turn this building over, anything that falls to the ground is business personal property. Please, don't be proud of it. We're not selling your business right now. Don't be proud of the value of this used table or these used chairs. Don't be proud. Give them the value that you would get if you traded it in. And get that number perhaps from who would take it if they could sell you something new. Here's a new one. Anybody in a triple net lease that pays taxes, you have the right. If you were the owner of this restaurant and you pay taxes as part of your lease, you have the right to say to the landlord, either you protest it or let me protest it, because I have the right, since I'm paying the taxes, just like the property owner. So the number one reason most people don't protest is they haven't met me, because I tell you, everybody should be doing this. And my favorite story here is that I was in San Antonio, and y'all have a taxpayer liaison officer. I don't know if you understand, but there's somebody there that if you have some administrative problem, you might want to go to them and say, hey, listen, I got messed up with my scheduling, or I didn't get the information. They might run some interference, but doesn't mean that they always can solve all your problems. But this is Mr. White, and the quick story here is I was working on an appraisal, and I needed some administrative help. They said, go down and talk to Mr. Brown. So I went downstairs and I asked for Mr. Brown, and this gentleman comes out and he says, can I help you? I said, sure, I need Mr. Brown. He said, well, Mr. Brown passed away. I said, well, who are you? He says, I'm Mr. White. Not making it up. I said, well, I tell you what, the guys upstairs are so busy, the 70 appraisers, they don't know that Mr. Brown is dead and Mr. White is black, okay? So I gave him a case of water and I said, you might want to distribute this, but you have a taxpayer liaison officer. So if anything that you feel like you're just a little overwhelmed and you don't know which way to go, do I go to customer service? Do I go to exemptions? Ask for the taxpayer liaison officer. Now here's your calendar. On January 1st, that's the effective date. Every value we're talking about is January 1st. The best way to remember this is if your house burned down on New Year's Eve because the fireworks got out of control, What would the house be worth on New Year's? The amount of land and slab. So remember that, pardon the pun, but burn that into your mindset. Because I don't care what your property's worth today. I care what your property was worth January 1st. Did you have a hailstorm that hasn't been fixed? You have a foundation issue. You fixed it in February. But as of January 1st, you needed to make those repairs. May 15th is the deadline. And I will tell you, I would prefer you to email that notice of protest and have a record that it got filed. Have some kind of confirmation. But I don't want you to think that if you can't do person to person, that your better strategy is not just property to property evidence. I know we're getting caught up in this artificial intelligence where I send something in and they send me a response. I'll tell you what, it's a lot harder to say no to somebody looking them in the eye. But it's easy for them to say, oh, I disagree. Oh, you need to give me more information. So what's happening in the real estate world? What's happening in mortgage rates? Mortgage rates have doubled since the middle of 2022. I don't know if you've seen it, a few less for sale signs, a little slower activity, notwithstanding all the other issues that are relevant to the border. But just that alone has caused the market to slow down. And I don't think the counties appreciate that that is a reality. They don't have the comps to sometimes just support why they think the values went up. I think most market values have flattened or declined. At the end of the Biden era, and even with Trump in place, I can feel encouraged perhaps if that's my leaning, but that really is not, I have not seen it. Maybe you have in certain pockets, but I think you can make an argument. Don't compare me to properties that were selling in 2022 when interest rates were 3% or less. And this is where we were in 2022 until the middle of 2022, and look where it went. You think there was more people that could borrow money at 3% than there are people who can borrow money at 6 and 7? Absolutely. And that's part of why I think that this market is flat and gives you an argument, notwithstanding all the property condition issues. So you get this form from the government. Did everybody get their notice of value like yesterday, or maybe you got it today's mail? You're probably going to get it tomorrow. And if you didn't, that doesn't mean you can't protest. If they didn't raise your value, that doesn't mean that it's the correct value. But this form that they're going to send you, I'm going to show you. You can't read all this, but it's going to say that it's not a tax statement. Don't pay this. This is not a bill. Do not pay this. 5 times in Bexar County, because we're so ignorant, they have to tell us, this is just what we jacked your value up to. You see what I'm saying? But don't worry about it, unless you turn the form over, and that's when you realize you don't have to be a helicopter pilot to figure out how to fill out a form to tell them, I'd like to protest my value. That's all you need to do. And so what does the form look like? This is the comptroller's form. You can get it off the comptroller's website, but you've got it already in the mail. And you fill it out, you tell them if you have any exemptions, you tell them who you are if it isn't already pre-filled for you, and you work your way down through, and you tell them, I just want to protest because I think it might be incorrectly praised for market, or it's not properly compared to my neighbors. You have 2 arguments. They can't tax you on a value that's higher than your neighbor's values, and if your neighbor's values are in line, they can't tax you on that if you can show them that you couldn't sell for that price. But here's where you have to write down, please provide county appraisal district evidence. But you don't have to tell them, it says, what is your opinion of property value? It's optional. See, I'm not going to tell them, provide facts that may help resolve this protest. Not at this time. The burden of proof is on them. It's not your job to help them do their job. Not yet, because they still have work to do. So ask them, please, show me the evidence, show me the money, right? But don't start by negotiating against yourself. That's human nature. Well, what do you think it's worth? I don't know. That's why I need Jose to meet with me, explain to me the evidence. And I have options. Do I want an informal conference? Yes. Then do I want to go in front of the panel if I have to, maybe by video conferencing or telephone conference? If you have the time and you want to go down there and do it in person, more power to you. But for those of you that are impatient, because impatience is a characteristic of leadership, You may not want to go down there and sit and sit and sit and then be tired and angry and irritated when you could be at home, doing whatever you like to do at home. Exercise, waiting for them to call you because you checked in for a 1 o'clock hearing and it's 2:45 and they're finally calling you back and saying, oh, we're ready, we have a panel. So that's my preference. So here's the Bexar County appraisal. You can't read this, but it says, don't forget that request our evidence. Again, evidence requested. That's how ignorant we are in San Antonio, right? I know you may like San Antonio flavor, come on down. We're so friendly, we make it that easy, and I want to make it easy for you to know that you just need to write this down. But in Webb County, here you go. Why do I think that they might make mistakes? There's 185,000 properties. There's 35 appraisers. That's an average of 5,000 properties per appraiser. Has anybody done anything 5,000 times since January 1st to April 1st? Anybody? Can you think of something you've done 5,000 times?
Nope.
I mean, maybe my heartbeat, but that probably skipped a beat, So my point being is, you need to recognize if they've got this much work to do, they make mistakes. Fair enough? That's just reasonable. It's nothing personal. I'm not saying Jose is incompetent. I'm just saying he's overworked. Right? He could be very competent. In Bexar County, we're 10,000 properties per appraiser. So, again, how do you do that much work? Well, you guess. Put your thumb in the air. You come up with tables. This is what they do. They don't go to mass, but they use mass methodology. Maybe they do go to mass. I don't know. But they use what we call mass appraisal. And mass appraisal is defined as standard methodology employing common data, allowing for statistical data. About this point, my tongue is getting tied, right? Basically, it's a data dump, right? It's like, I'm not going to give you a chance to look at the menu. I'm just going to put a bunch of food in front of you and shove it down your throat. Except it's data. So if they can make mistakes, you can make adjustments. And you can say, look, you forgot about my deferred maintenance. You forgot about functional issue. You forgot about location issue. And I forgot about the appetizer. Thank you. No, geez. But do we understand that the appraisal district has too much work and they're giving us too much data, and we can help them so that the panel, these three, can say, you know what? They didn't give you an adjustment for that roof. We'll give you an adjustment. They didn't give you an adjustment for that painting that you need or those broken windows. So what is possible with God is only achieved if you recognize that the probability is they made a mistake. Right? We have to overcome the probability that they made a mistake. And it's not personal. So what do we have to do to help them understand that they made a mistake? We have to give them information so we can educate them and inspire them, because we're going to persevere until they get the message. You made a mistake. It's okay. It's not personal. So you can ask your real estate professionals, we've got a few here tonight, say, hey, could you help me, give me a CMA, comparative market analysis? Could you give me that? What's that seller's disclosure form? Give it to them. Send it out. You're going to make friends after tonight. What's this for? I'm not selling my home. I know. But if you were, this is what you would have to disclose. And if you disclose this before you repaired it, it would be worth less than the home that got fixed up. Land studies, concepts. How do we compare this property with that property when it's different shape, different topography? So you're basically assessing your own property. You've requested the county's package. You're ready to go on mano a mano. And what is the appraisal district information? It's got all this data. It's got some measurements. Sometimes the measurements are wrong. Sometimes they don't even have the right address. Sometimes they don't have the right building on the right property. I've literally had that happen. I'm talking about $1 million properties. They showed me the wrong gate. Like, that's You never got to see the house, and you're showing me the gate of the wrong property. Can't make it up. So this is an example of the data that they might give you. They're going to show you here, look, this is your house, here's comparable properties. Well, drive around and tell me if you think it's comparable. If it's not similar, tell me why it's not similar. All right, tell Jose it's not similar. And if Jose says, look, your property's 4,600 square feet, and I think it's worth like 830,000, and I've got all these properties, say, well, why are you comparing me at 4,600 square feet with 5,000 square feet? Why are you comparing me with 4,350? And why on earth, if my property is $195 a square foot, and a house that's barely 20 square feet more than mine, is that valued at 179? And here's 172. Look, all I did was I just took their evidence and I said, let's just narrow this down a little bit. You know, just this is the county's data. This isn't any deep dive research that I did. Then they say, but look at all these sales. Look at all these sales, Mike. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Again, you know, did these people disclose that they had made their home market ready? Did anybody drive here in a car that if there was a great sale going on down the street, that you would drive straight to the dealer and say, here's the keys, give me my best trade-in, or would you wash it, right? Maybe get it detailed, maybe get it inspected, maybe get it, you know, repaired, oiled, whatever. Your house isn't market ready. This is a tool, this is Lampasas, but Webb County, same thing. You can find out what your neighbor's values are because you can put in their address and it's public information. So you can find out and put together a little map of, well, what about my neighbors? You don't have to ask them, you can find out yourself to see if they left something off. But I want to show you something over here. Let's see. Here was one in Lampasas. You know, for 5 years, it was 4 years, 545, 557, 560, 580, and then suddenly went to 903. You know, suddenly, then they lowered it to 893, then 900. How did you go from here to here? This is going on all over the state. It's not limited to Webb County. These kinds of ridiculous increases dictated by the comptroller and then endured by you and the chief appraiser. So right now, some of you, we've woken up, you're feeling like you're ready to be a lion. I'm not asking you to be that ferocious. She is. She'll go down there with you. But I'm even reining Monica in. I said, Monica, soar like an eagle. It's biblical. You know? But when you go in there, don't go in there with this let's make a deal. Anybody old enough to remember that show, Let's Make a Deal? Right? Where they show you, you know, you want what's behind door number 3, or when you take $200? No, I don't want what Jose's offering if I think I can do better in front of the panel. And so I will meet with Jose. I might go to the panel. If he doesn't make me an offer, I just can't refuse. But I'm not going to go in there with this idea, let's make a deal, because I'm not afraid of the panel. Why am I not afraid of the panel? Because, well, first of all, if you file the protest, not if I file it for you, if you file the protest and you're not ready, you can tell them, I want to reschedule a hearing at least one time. You don't have to have any excuse. Dog doesn't have to have a headache. Baby doesn't need to be fed. I am entitled by law of one postponement. And then guess what? You get to go in front of this infamous panel, right? These 3. But they're an independent citizen board, right? You think they're your neighbors. But they've only been trained in hearing procedures. They only know how to listen to Jose and I disagree. They don't know anything necessarily about real estate. It's not a requirement to know anything about real estate, to be on the panel. What can I tell you about them? If they're not real estate experts, this is what they look like. I took a picture. This is the Appraisal Review Board panel. I know some of you think I'm being offended. I hope I'm not offending anybody if you've been on a panel. Maybe it's not this panel. But you see the one in the middle? Would you believe that in their training manual, it says, you can't read it here, so I'll blow it up for you. Jose, what does that say?
Do not let your attention wander and don't sleep during the hearing.
See, he read it. He read it, and it came right out of the training manual. I took the course, 50 bucks. I thought I was wasting my time, like, oh, seriously, what am I going to learn? And then I saw that, and I was like, oh, this is priceless. For 50, this is the joke that goes, that never stops laughing. So I'm going to go, Jose and I are going to disagree, and we're going to go in front of a panel that's been trained not to sleep. That's the only thing I can guarantee you. So why be intimidated? But we got to keep them awake. Even though they've been told that an appearance before them might be the first time a property owner faces a decision-making body of government. So you're supposed to be making the experience a positive one. You're supposed to not assume that Jose, look, it's right there. I took it out and put it on a slide, but these are not my words. This is their training name. I took your training. You're not supposed to assume he's right. And now you know why. Because he's doing so darn much work, he might have made a mistake. So what can we do? We can inform, right? With our brain, we got back. We can entertain with some images, and we can inspire by sympathetic or empathetic way. So if you inform, entertain, and inspire, you will flex whatever I'm saying. I'm going to make it more palatable for my panel to maybe say, hey, maybe Jose got it wrong. It's nothing personal. I'm not insulting him. It's nothing rude. But I got a little bit more, and he actually helped me. Thank you, Jose, for pointing out that if I brought a roofing estimate, if I brought this, I brought that, the panel might give me a better break. So feed them pie. This is the best acronym I can come up with. Because you looked at the picture. Give them pictures. Give them invoices. Are y'all a couple? Who's the thinker? You're the thinker. So you're the feeler. So without you, life would be boring. It wouldn't be entertaining. It wouldn't be spontaneous. Is that fair? And without him, you'd be in jail. No, I'm teasing. But the reason I tell you that is because one of you went and said, oh yeah, I get it. I want to see a picture. And you're like, show me the facts. Show me the cost. Because you know that the appraisal district is using mass market data analysis, and you're giving them better description, better condition, better location issues. So here we go. Fundamental of Communication 101. The English-speaking, Spanish-speaking populations are divided in 4 categories. We have high feelers, low feelers. High thinkers, low thinkers. What's a high feeler? A salesman, right? You ever try to buy a car? Well, what's it going to take to get you into this car today, right? Very energetic, great to meet you, but we're going to make a decision. What's a low feeler? Receptionist. Great to meet you. The doctor will be with you in a second. Can I get you something? Please, and just have a seat. It won't be long. We know you need a heart transplant. And then the doctor walks in. And hopefully, if you ever have to get a heart transplant, ask them if the donor was a former IRS collector. Because then you're getting not a previously used heart. But this is life and death. A low thinker. Did I offend anybody? No, I'm just, you work for the IRS, I love you. Okay, but if you're a low thinker, you're like me. You're an accountant. You ever seen two accountants meet in public? You know how you can tell the difference between the extrovert and the introvert? The introvert, the extrovert looks at the other one's belt buckle, and the introvert looks at the other one's shoes. They don't even look each other in the eye. I mean, we're the most boring profession. Trustworthy, I get it. But nobody dies from what we say. Your blood pressure might go up. If I don't answer the call and you've got a letter from the IRS, you might get a little anxious, but nobody's died from my advice. So now that you know what we have to go through, let's see if we can do all things through Christ. It strengthens us, because now you've got a little bit of knowledge. You know what you're going in there to talk about. Somebody like, in this audience, Mr. Cifuentes. I didn't know him any more than I know you, sir. He said, I think I get it, Mike. I'm going to give him a list. Here, I need painting, I need windows, I need flooring. In fact, I don't even know what the adjustment should be for an odd-shaped lot or a steep driveway. But I'm going to list all those numbers, and I'm going to respect the panel by saying, I don't know, but I hope you can be empathetic. Because, I've got some other issues here, and I don't even know how to put a value on it. And Jose has made me an offer that I can accept yet. And I went from the top down, from the inside out, from the roof to the foundation, from the inside where nobody else has been, because nobody's come in from the government, and I went outside. And I said, okay, what else is going on? And then I went from the lot to the location. In other words, here's my lot, but where am I in the property? Am I backing up to a corridor? Am I backing up to a mosquito farm? And pictures, invoices, and estimates, feed them hot. And so what did Mr. Cifuentes do? He says, is this what you're talking about? I got a picture of the painting. Look, I even drew some arrows. And there's the estimate. So she's looking at the pictures. If she was on the panel and he's looking at the number. So then, you know what? I flipped it. So now she's got to look on the right side for the pictures of the windows, and he's looking at the estimate. It says a method of the madness. Oh, look. No, my husband didn't know how to use a dishwasher. Does that surprise us? He ruined the floor. He didn't know the difference between concentrate. Can't spell it. But now we got a $14,000 bid to fix the flooring. Oh, look, let's even make it funny. Look at, we're way up here. Look at the slope. Look, Mom, no rails. You know, Grandma can't get in the house. You gotta push her up, right? She might slip on the steps. Now, if you're a realtor, I know what you're thinking. I'll bet they got a great view. Well, we're not selling steak, right? We're selling hamburger. Same cow, different process. So Mr. Cifuentes said, Mike, they told me it was worth $320. And Jose said, I'll tell you what, how about $300,000? And I was behind the Zoom. They were in front of the camera. And I felt like a third base coach. And then, you know, he was real smart. Guys, take note. He looked at his wife. And she looked like, I'm only here because you told me to be here. And they're in front of the camera. But he got the message. Don't take the 300. Go to the panel. So they went to the panel. Panel said 290. So we went from 320 to 290. And the case was, quote, the hearing was over. And he says, what else can we do? I said, well, you can appeal by arbitration. But you need to tell them what you think your value is. And if you think your value is 240, then the midpoint, like a tug of war, is 265. Because Jose and I are going to have a face-off. You guys told him 290, you're out of the game. We're down to 290, but you know, Jose, I think there's a little more left. Why? Because what did Mr. Cifuentes said? He says, I got $60,000 for repairs. Plus, I'm not sure about living high on the hill. The arbitrator ruled at 260. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes.
At the very beginning, when we're protesting the application, and you mentioned don't put a value at that time.
Right.
But our value right here is 240.
This is only if I'm going to go to arbitration. This is after he's had the informal, we went in front of the panel, they ruled, now I have to give up something.
But I know that my value, I want to put my value at 240. Can I do it at that point at the very beginning?
You may.
And do you think I'm going to get anywhere, or do we have to go down this panel?
I prefer to not offer them my opinion because the human nature is if you say 10 and I say 5, they may be thinking 4. And if you say 10 and I say 5, they may say, you know, Jose's made a good argument, Mike's made a good, 7.5. That's just me.
So we go back to 0 at the beginning.
I don't even give them anything. I don't tell them it's 0. I mean,
Don't say anything.
no, not applicable. Just,
Only
it's,
for arbitration,
then we have to. If we appeal the panel's ruling, we have to give them value. The reason being is because between what we want and what they ruled at is the midpoint. And the midpoint becomes a tug of war, right? Jose said 290, or not Jose, the panel said 290, essentially on behalf of the county. I'm at 240, 265. Why is that important? It's important because wherever the arbitrator rules determines who pays the arbitrator. Oh. So I don't know if y'all like going to Vegas. I don't know if you like going to the casinos. I'm not a gambler. But I'll tell you what, I like throwing down that money and saying, I wonder if you're going to blink. Now I'm going to call your bluff. Do you think I can get them below 265? Because if I can County's paying the arbitrator. I get my money back, plus I saved. Look what he saved. He went from 290 to 260. Yes, sir.
Can at any point in the process, either the panel, the appraiser, or the arbitrators raise it? So say you start at 320, you go to the informal hearing or to the hearing, and they say, well, actually, I think your home is 330.
No, not unless it's a material error. Once they've given you a value, they're stuck with that. It can only work in our favor. Unless it's, unless they discover and you disclose that there was a garage and there wasn't a garage that they knew about. Something.
Right.
But you go in and they don't suddenly, oh, your carpet's better than we thought. We're going to. Now, they will suggest at arbitration that retrospectively, we really think it wasn't 290. We think it was 300. They're posturing. Okay? This is Mr. Cifuentes. Can you see? This is one of us, right? This is not some, expert. He did what we just told you. And I know you're thinking about all kinds of other issues, at least I hope you are. I'm not here to limit your ideas. How are we doing? Okay. But let's talk about your businesses real quickly, okay? Everything I've said applies regardless of whether it's residential or business. Here's a case of a Mexican restaurant located on Clavel Road. If you haven't been to San Antonio, that's on the near west side. And they compared the Mexican restaurant with a restaurant in the medical center. They compared it on Interstate 10 with a whole lot more traffic. They compared it as properties in Stone Oak, one of the most exclusive properties, neighborhoods in the area. And they compared it with a seafood restaurant just because they named it in Spanish. Okay? This is not acceptable. I Googled Mexican restaurant in Claver, I got about 10 comps. Now, so they must have cherry picked to try and justify a value up. This is what they do. Back to Mr. Cifuentes, look at his lot. It's kind of irregular in shape. Look at these properties. These properties that are in green are the ones that have no benefit of homestead exemption. Therefore, those are probably properties that have been protested because they're rental properties. You might want to know what those properties came down to. This is an example of describing these corridors. These are traffic patterns. So I'm going to get to the finish line. This is a property in El Paso, on the border. Can everybody see the Freedom Wall? Would you consider a property that's right on the border that you have to use, that has the barbed wire, as comparable to a property four streets in? No, I think once somebody made their way over that fence, over the Freedom Wall, crawled across the roof, they probably didn't go from roof to roof. I think they're a little more at risk, to whatever risk is. This isn't a comment on immigration. It's a comment on location. And it never hurts to ask. Whether you like the guy or not, he wrote a great book, you're welcome to buy it, because I think it'll change the way you approach communication. If I'm going in front of the panel and I'm saying, I know I've got 62,000, no, I've got 62,000, but you might want to give some more consideration to landscaping. Might want to give some consideration to the odd-shaped lot. You might want to give some consideration to it's high up on a hill, and I have to come down a ski slope during winter. You see? Now I've respected you as the authority. You're going to make a ruling. By asking you a question instead of making my last comment a statement, I've said, implied, I know you're the authority. You're going to rule on my home. I hope I don't have to go to arbitration. If you've got a business and it's a property that they don't know how much you bring in for income or how much your expenses are, recognize they're using assumptions. Look at their assumptions. Look at your reality. Decide where you want to make a difference in arguing. In this case, 600,000 was what the value was. 390 was what we asked. We got 391. And that was represented by another company that was doing a lot of volume and didn't seem to. How is it that you can't close that gap? With a dentist using their own office is renting it to themselves, the assumptions aren't necessarily justified. So we're talking about land, and I'll leave you with this last slide. So you've been a great audience. You've got issues of size. You've got issues of shape. You've got issues of topography. Anybody know what topography is? You know, up and down, the hills. If I've got a level piece of property and it's in a rectangle, please, you know, that's going to be more valuable than a piece of property that's irregular in shape and has all kinds of slopes. And what if the property's located? But what about this property? Look at that beautiful view. Look at that beautiful view. The only problem is when I sent the appraiser down there, they called me back and I said, you're going to love the view. They called me and they said, you didn't tell me I had to take my tennis shoes. I'm like, what, did you break your neck? Well, almost. Well, oh, because you need to go up there to get to the view? No wonder. Well, guess what? It's not worth as much if I've got to go up this hill, because how am I going to get up the hill without spending a bunch of money to get a driveway through there? So this is what we've talked about from the very beginning. Make sure you've applied for your exemption. You'd be amazed, some of you may not have missed an exemption, and they're now making you renew it. File your notice of protest. I know, I'm sorry, cry with me. Let's go to an informal hearing. Go to the formal. Don't get upset, because you know the Zen Master tonight has told you you can go to arbitration. If you go to arbitration, you can take the case. Even though it's going to be with the same county, the arbitrator will be from another county if you say, I don't want an arbitrator from Webb County. I don't want somebody that's prejudiced because I own a nice home. Last story. This was owned by Jesus Garcia. See the red line? Kind of irregular in shape. Had I-10 frontage, but no frontage road. This is the floodplain. So they said to me, Mike, Mr. Berlanga, can't he build in the floodplain? Isn't it okay that we compared it to the neighboring property and these other properties? You know, I said, well, yes, he could build in the floodplain if he could get a permit from the county, if he could get insurance, and if he could get a loan with the insurance, considering the risk. The only problem is his name is Jesus Garcia, not Jesus Christ. Okay? Case closed. With that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Monica. Yes, ma'am.
We go to arbitration, okay? Their values are represented. My values are at 320. We go through all the scenarios, and their values are still at 320. Unfortunately, we can't move forward. I have to accept their value for that particular year. What do I do for the following year? How do I protect myself? Because somehow that board at that moment wasn't looking at the best interest, or they were just looking at how to get more money. What do I do the following year to get my value for? I know they're like 320. They're not at half a million. What do I do?
But you said arbitration. We're not confusing arbitration with the appraisal review board.
Right.
So you went to step 3 and you lost the entire case. And then
How do I prepare myself for the following year?
I would consider the possibility that you're going to get in front of a different panel. You're definitely going to get a different arbitrator. And I'd work on, what did I miss? Was it that I didn't have enough images or I didn't have enough facts?
Can I help you?
Please.
Okay, my name is Dolores Mercado. For the years I was business with my ex-husband. Regarding my ex, because I failed, and I'm very successful to do this property. Anyway, that happened to us. His property was on San Bernardo, his and Vegas, you know, Vegas and San Bernardo, was really overpriced and they were the only properties. So then I started investigating, because I did this every year for him, and I found that, what is it, AutoZone? I investigated AutoZone, they didn't go up at all. Then I investigated all the AutoZones in Laredo, none of them went up. Then I got an open records request on the properties owned by one of the board members that sat there. And they call him Little Trump of Laredo. And so the list of properties that man had was amazing. And remember, this man is listening to everybody losing their property. The elderly, that come there fighting, and they don't know how to fight. And so when I went with all my handouts, PowerPoints, and what, he said, oh, there's been a mistake. There's been a mistake. Didn't we make a mistake? Because you're standing there by yourself, and they got an army with their computers and everything, while you're fighting for yourself. And he said, there's been a mistake, and right away they said, yes, there was a mistake. And that was the end of that. So I won my case, but how many other people don't? So I say attack. You know, go there, find out what they own. How many of these people have been buying properties when people go before them? Investigate not only your property, but everybody else's there. And that's when I found out there was something terribly wrong going on in the real.
Thank you. So I'll hand it off to Monica by saying, this is how I feel. Remember this, Shawshank Redemption? Right? Didn't think he'd ever get out of prison. Right? But he knew he was innocent. He said, hope is a good thing. And what we're delivering is some hope. Yes, sir.
When you're meeting with the panel inside and then they make you an offer and you want to take it to arbitration, do you deny their offer at that moment and let them know, or do you just say thank you?
He can make an offer. Jose, the appraiser, can make an offer. I don't accept his offer. I go in front of the panel. They make a ruling.
Right.
That is not something I accept. That is a decision that then I can appeal.
So they don't know you're going to appeal. You just
It
say,
doesn't matter. We're never going to see them again until next year. So I mean, that's their, if you want, but they made a ruling. That ruling will be received by certified mail.
Watch this. They're going to send you that ruling by certified mail. When you get that ruling, you have 60 days to decide if you're going to go to arbitration. If you decide to go to arbitration, then there's a 45-day settlement period where the county might go, maybe, Jose, what do you think? Jose's like, he's really got a good case. The panel was asleep. And if we lose, so sometimes they settle in that 45-day period. So step 1, step 2, and maybe step 3 with a little bit of a, maybe I'm going to hit a foul ball. What's the other question?
So I took it all the way to, I didn't know that there were these many, very good information, right? Because every year I have protests. So I got as far as the review, the evidence, where I had to provide all the information. And then they were like, okay, well, we agreed on amount. I thought I was doing great, but obviously I wasn't, because I didn't know about the informal hearing, the formal, and the appeal, because they didn't bring that to our attention, right? But one of the things that's my question, because I've never gone through the informal, formal, and appeal, is in Laredo, Texas, the people that are on the board, are they going to be on the informal, formal, and appeal?
Informal is one-on-one.
Okay,
With an appraiser, we're just talking it through or making.
the appraisal.
Right. That's one-on-one. Then we don't agree, then I say schedule the hearing. Remember, if they give me a
Okay.
date that doesn't work, I can reschedule it. I've got the option to reschedule. But then the panel's gonna hear us go at it again. But now we're doing it in front of a panel.
Okay,
The informal is just Jose and I. Formal is Jose and I in front of the panel asks a few questions and make a decision in 15 minutes. It's drive-through justice.
okay. The reason I'm asking that is because when I did the review, the receive and review,
You want to.
they sent me evidence on property around me, but it didn't click to me to do what my friend over here did, is do the research and the homework of what everything else is at. So I'm gonna meet with you here in a little bit. But I think that's the technique we need to approach, because they're so used to people like me doing it every year, but we always agree, because I did not know we had the informal, formal, and the.
And that's in spite of having a friend.
That's why you're here today. And that's why you're here today, ma'am.
So there you go. Did everybody watch Shawshank Redemption? He's telling him, hope is a good thing. Sometimes it's the best of things. So with the help of Libre, hopefully I've given you some hope. Hopefully with Libre, this is us. We're going to talk to the legislators. You know, we're going to make sure that they hear you. Remember the famous, I hear you and the rest of the world hears you? That was very famous. We need to make sure that the legislature hears us because they've been talking about this for years and years and years. So anyway, thank you all. Bless you.
Thank you so much. Can you please join me in giving Mike Ravana a round of applause, please? Okay, well, I know I don't pay taxes anymore, or I'm exempt, or whatever. Yeah, but your family still does. And yes, you may not be, maybe you have an exemption and you're not paying a lot of taxes, but guess what? When you're buying products, all of this costs. If a business is being charged higher property, I have logistics in the house, right? If your business is being taxed more, are you charging your customer more? Yes, absolutely. So whether you pay property taxes, or maybe you say, well, I'm leasing. I lease a commercial business, and I don't pay the taxes. Yes, you do. I lease an apartment. Yes, you're paying, but you're paying somebody else's taxes. And so, anyway, we are all someone, whether you own property or not, we are all paying property taxes, and it's very, very important. So with that, I'm going to say this. This is only step one. The Libre Initiative is committed. The Libre Initiative is committed to property. So the work we're doing is property tax reform. Okay? So this is not the end all be all. We have more work to do, but this is the first step. One of the things that we are also working on is, of course, we need reform. Are you guys okay over there?
Yeah.
What's up?
Can I say something?
No, I'm just closing out.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So anyway, so this is what we're talking about. We have a 4-point proposal that we're working on. We believe that there should be a property appraisal system. As Mike explained, as many of you have experienced, the property appraisal system is not in your favor. So we need to look at that as a state. Point number 2, we definitely want some transparency in what we're actually paying in our tax rates, right? 3, this is one that's very, very important, and I'm going to depend on all of you come budget time. We need to voice our concerns about local government spending. There needs to be a limit. What is our school ISDs, our city? We have Parents United here today. How's Parents United spending their money? Good or bad? Better? Yes. Can you stand up for me quite, Victor, please? This is Victor Vasquez. He is the founder of Parents United. And he does a lot of work for the good of the community. If you have not met him, please see him afterwards. And this is the last thing. We need your voice, okay? We are encouraging everybody to get involved. We need to be voting. We need to be at city council meetings. We need to be at school board meetings. We need to be at county meetings. We need to be involved. With that, we are wanting, and this is an invitation, you don't have to do it, there's no price for the tacos, okay? But if you, this is an invitation, and the first step that we're inviting you to do. I do have a letter to the lawmaker that Lulu has, and she'll be passing this out to you. It is a letter to our governor because we are asking for property tax reform. So if you read it, if you want to, please, Lulu and Ms. Tony are going to be passing these out. And I just want to thank all of you again. You're welcome to stay. Mike does have to go back to San Antonio today, but if you have questions, please ask him, ask me, and we'll be having some more events here in the next 5 weeks. Remember, when is the property protest due? What is the deadline? Oh my gosh, such empowered people. May the Lord bless you. Thank you for coming. And I really, really appreciate you. You can go to texasisbigger.com for all of the events that we're hosting here in the state of Texas. God bless you all. Make sure you sign in. Please, if you haven't signed in, make sure you sign in.